Hello all and welcome to episode 74 of the 3-for-1 Sky Fantasy Football Podcast by fantasyfootballhub.co.uk with our final, no, it's not our final. I just said to Paul then, I'm sure I'm going to mess something up, and I've even messed up the first line. I've left the word overhaul in the script, so it's not. It is, we are fresh from the chaos of the overhaul. My name is Fergi. I'm joined today as usual by my more prepared co-host, Paul McAnulty. Nick Pope does it again. Another 12-pointer on a single game day. What a legend.
Yeah, I was going to tweet something when he had made the third save about how he always gets 11 points. I would have looked foolish because they end up getting 12 after it. But yeah, it's an incredible second part of the season run that he always seems to go on. They always seem to have single game days. He always picks up clean sheet. Yeah, great return again.
You think there's something in the kind of narrative that when players know they're, maybe on Sky Sports or maybe on BT and they're the only day and they're being watched on TV by basically the whole nation, do you think there's something there around them playing a bit differently or not? Or do you just think it's just a coincidence?
I think it's just a coincidence. And the thing, this always happens to Burnley in the second half of the season. So I think it's that cohesion point about they always look a bit disjointed at the start of the season, and it's more it's more that team's played together for a longer stretch now, and in the second half of the season they always seem to tighten up a bit. So I think it's more to do with that than the TV point, I think.
Yeah, it just always seems to happen, don't it? I've got memories, shivers down my spine of Pope the season before, I think it was, of Patricio last season, just these single days, like a Monday or whatever it was. They just always seem to do it, don't they? But
it happens in Sky for all positions as well, I think, though. Like the highly owned players are highly owned for a reason, but there seems to be a bit of magic about those players somehow, like the Dallas and the
Rafinha a few weeks ago again, wasn't there? There was, he had mad, Oliver, yeah, you're right. It's mad. It's mad how it works out, doesn't it? And when it works for you, it's unbelievable. But when you're not on them, it's really tough going, isn't it?
It's just, see, going against the template. Like if I was chasing, I probably wouldn't have started with Pope. I might have went Weghorst or done something different. But this season more than previous, I think you're getting punished even more from trying to go away from the template and try and do something different. Even educated moves, like sensible moves. Like I think picking Weghorst over Pope wasn't a bad move when you look at the fixtures coming up, and there was definitely different ways to think about it, but just punished over again.
Indeed. Welcome everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us this Tuesday lunchtime. Strange time to be going live, but thank you so much. Dan Cox is in the chat. Welcome, Dan. Norman Conquest asking Dan about the kids' lunch, but apparently he's already done it. Dan has served the kids' lunch already, so we're all good there. Thank goodness for that. Kaiser Soze, hello there. Lee, great to have you on. Liam Dorian is in as well. Hope your teeth are better, Liam. The dad course, simple goal is here. I'm assuming he went Pope. It would have been a bit reckless for him that high up to have gone with someone else. Dale Turner, Stephen Matthews, Matt Woolley, Glenn Murray, John Maloney, FPL Sparta, and John L. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And if there is anyone watching or listening who are new, you are very, very welcome also. If you haven't subscribed yet, press the subscribe button at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our podcasts and live streams. Also, please press the like button if you haven't already. It would be much, much appreciated. So today, and we say this most weeks, but we think this is going to be a short one because obviously we put so much time and effort and work into the overhaul. There's only been one game since, and we've obviously planned the next few weeks in overhaul as well. We'll see how that goes. But our main our main topic today is going to be defensive effective ownership. So obviously off the back of the overhaul, a lot of people went maybe all in on Liverpool, maybe all in on Man City, maybe a little both. We're just going to look at that so we know basically what we're cheering for when those teams are playing. We'll look ahead to the coming week and also the weekend, obviously, and we will see how it goes. So firstly, Paul, we have the ownership in front of us, which changed a fair bit actually from when we did the overhaul specials on Monday and Thursday. Cancelo, 99.2%. So only very few. What's that? Only 8 managers have gone without him in the top 1,000 teams. Bowen, 96.5. You don't want to be betting against him this evening, I wouldn't guess, with that ownership. Incredible. Trent, 88.8. Laporte, 87. Gallagher, 86. Pope, 77. He was obviously a massive 24 points.
As we were tracking the ownership and gauging, I was using Salah's as a gauge of how many teams had moved that way, and I think my estimate for Pope was 70, so wasn't too far off.
No, definitely. Salah only 73.9. I think.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest surprises on there for me. And it's, you're gonna, even if he was to miss the first 2 games or the first game, you're gonna want him in. And I mentioned on, I can't remember if it was a previous pod or the one before that, I just didn't see anybody that I'd want to take out on the Saturday and make the extra gains from to then move on to him with the future fixtures coming up afterwards. So I had never really considered going without him, even if it came out that he was going to miss the first game and perhaps even the first 2.
Yeah, there's been some comments on Klopp this morning, actually in the last hour or two, saying that he will be available for selection for Thursday night's game, whereas Mane won't. He said, he's confirmed that on Mane. Yeah. It'd be interesting if Salah would have won. So I was cheering on Egypt from a fantasy view on Sunday night, just because in other formats, more than Sky, I wanted to wait a little bit before getting him in. But obviously when Mane scored it, you kind of guessed that Salah would be on the plane home. And apparently he's fit and available for selection for Thursday. So those who don't have Salah will have an interesting decision to make on even, because if he starts, I'm assuming you would guess if he starts that he would be very heavily captained by those 73.9. If not, just out of interest, Paul, we'll touch on this obviously more when we get to it. For those who got Jota and Trent, Jota again looked, I thought, really good on the weekend. Ownership aside now, we're not going with ownership because I know that's the stock answer, but in terms of who you think will score more points on Thursday, would you think Trent or Jota?
That's a good question. I think Jota's the form man, isn't he?
He is the form man, yeah. I think ownership would probably dictate Trent. Trent is 88 and Jota is 23.
And we're going to talk about Liverpool's effective ownership defence
exactly
as well, which comes into that play as well.
Good point. Ronaldo, 61%. His main opponent, Harry Kane, just 19%. Webster went into 43% of teams. Van Dijk, 32, and Kilman, 27 as well. So it's really interesting there how the template is formed. I think I've got 10 of the first 11, and Jota is basically my team. So I'm not expecting much movement, though I did say that I did move up from 240 to 218 just off the back of Pope. So again, this thing about just making consistent, sensible decisions are the ones which help you climb, don't they? In the long term. So let's have a look then, Paul, at the overall percent owned. Do you want to just run through this?
On the defensive front? Or
yes, on the defensive front,
Yeah, so I've spoken about this before, and this is I spoke to Frank FF stuff a bit about why I thought this was an important slide moving forward to dictate, as you say, what you cheer for and what you don't. So as a reminder, if you've got one player in that defensive block, then that's 100%. And therefore, if you've got 2 players, that's 200%. So if, like the majority we've seen from the percentage there of owners of Laporte and Cancelo, I own both of those. So my defensive ownership overall is 200%. And the fact that Man City's overall percentage ownership in the top 1,000 is 212%, that means that if Man City keep a clean sheet, on average, I'm losing points. If you captain one of those players, you get an extra 100% because you're doubling the score, so that'd be 300%. So it's all about whether, looking at that, I'm looking at Liverpool's, I only own Trent, I don't own Van Dijk, is that every time that Man City and Liverpool play, I want them to concede. Which is crazy when you're considering 3 of your 4 defenders are from those 2 teams. It's crazy, but understandably, people have went and done the double up with Trent and Robertson, or Trent and Van Dijk. And Man City, I think that would have been skewed probably by Walker. Walker would probably be the third most owned player there. So some managers have got that triple up: Cancelo, Walker, Diaz as well. It'll be maybe not as popular just based on price alone, but it's not too significant to hurt me like earlier in the season when Chelsea's effective ownership in defence was about 300% and I had one, which made those games even more painful. But something to bear in mind again when you're picking captaincy, if you employ tactics similar to the way that I do and trying to hold rank in certain circumstances, then it's definitely worth bearing that in mind.
It is. It's a game within a game, and I have this conversation very regularly in things like Spaces and on different podcasts as well. And experienced players, especially in Sky, just know that you're not going to get if Laporte, especially Cancelo, right? So if Cancelo tomorrow night gets a goal, an assist, a clean sheet, max bonus, man of the match, we're not going to look at our ranks thinking, oh my goodness, I will have halved my rank, because we will. His ownership is 99.2, and you would guess that probably 90% of that 99% will also captive him tomorrow night as well, because everyone in the top 1,000, or most people in the top 1,000, know what they're doing, right?
Here's a scenario that frustrates me often. Right? You've got Walker, whose ownership is, I'm actually not sure what Walker's specific ownership is he? Yeah, so he's at 16%, right, 15.9%, and Cancelo is at, as you say, just short of 100%. So everybody owns Cancelo, and the minority own Walker. So Walker crosses in a ball for Cancelo to tap in at the back post, and Cancelo owners rejoice.
Yeah, you're right.
But I'm frustrated by that. That annoys me because Walker's a player that I don't have, and he's gaining 3 points, whereas everybody gets Cancelo's points for scoring. So it's a bugbear of mine when that happens. And some people cheering for it don't own Walker as well. And I was like you have to. Maybe I think of it too analytically, but you would drop rank in that position, in my position there, as opposed to gaining rank.
You basically, just like looked at those kind of ownership stats and stuff. Liverpool, people like Trent, Cancelo, and Laporte are just hygiene picks. They just cover 3 spots that you need to kind of cover. And as boring as it sounds, that is the game, isn't it? That is just the game, And John L just put in the chat. Only time you will see Burnley third in any table, and that's obviously because Pope is in the majority of teams. There are a couple of people who've chosen one or two of that. I think who's that? I can't see from the pictures. One is Ben Mee. I can't recognise the other one. Maybe was it Veghorst? Maybe I'm not sure. But yeah,
it's defenders only. So
of course it is. Sorry, I'm not sure who that is. I can't see.
Ben Mee and Tarkowski.
Oh, it's Tarkowski. Okay. Brighton seems to be a place where only 46% owned, but then Brighton do obviously. They don't play in the first week, so maybe people are planned on hopping on Webster or Dunk in a week or two's time, so that might increase as well. But it's just interesting to see it, and
I thought the most interesting one was Wolves. Prior to doing any looking at percentage ownership, when I went and drafted pulled together my first draft, I had a short list, kind of like what Dan Cox does, have a short list of maybe like 20 players and then picking from that primarily. And you have different budget parts in there as well, so that if you pick up 10 players and you need a budget enabler, you bring it back, or if you don't, then that's fine. And Kilman was on my shortlist as well. I opted to go against it because when I didn't need the budget, and when it comes to that Arsenal Wolves requirement or the Wolves Leeds requirement, I'm still under the kind of thought that 3 weeks in advance feels a bit too much for me personally. If I had lower transfers, I'd probably consider that more, but it felt a little bit too far to be thinking based on how this season's unfolding and all the rearranged games. But I thought I would be in the minority thinking of Kilman, and that's one that I've got wrong because was he 27% owned as well? And I can totally understand why people went for it. Wolves' fixtures are reasonable, and then they've got those single day captaincies as backup. especially as I say, if you're on lower transfer account, it was a sensible move. I just surprised in my head that it's that high.
I think the fact that Wolves got knocked out of the FA Cup on Saturday afternoon, pre-overhaul deadline as well, and the people who are quick off the mark, Ian Parrin and Ben Crowlin, etc. I think they said, I won't get this exactly right because I don't know it off by heart, but that basically not far off guarantees. Oh, sorry, it means that Wolves will play now in game week 29. FPL game week 29, whereas that
the game against Leeds, right?
Yes,
and they might have a game the following midweek after that as well.
Exactly.
I had considered that as well when I was weighing it up, and I just felt that there was multiple good hop-on points.
Agree with that.
That if I wanted to go there, but again, that's only my preference. I can see arguments both for and against starting with them, so it's certainly not a criticism at all.
So in terms of kind of summary is, there's no point in tuning on Cancelo, Laporte, or Trent, because if any of them do anything, if those if Man United or if Man City or Liverpool keep clean sheets and you only own those three, that's going to be a drop in rank. The players you want to be cheering on really are players like probably Van Dijk, maybe Jota. If you've got Jota, those second players or third players in Man City's case.
On Thursday, if Salah doesn't start, I will captain Trent, and I still want Liverpool to concede.
That's the game within a game. It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? When it gets down to this level. Let's have a look then at the fixtures for this week. We've gone over this a million times, obviously, with overhaul. I don't think much has changed actually. In terms of injuries or fixtures, but this evening then we have Newcastle, Everton, West Ham, Watford, Burnley, Man United. Plenty of interest, with Pope, Ronaldo, etc. But you get with Bowen's form and his ownership, 96% owned. Bowen is going to be captain pick this evening.
Nice easy one for me. Wolves did look much better defensively against Burnley at the weekend, but they were playing Burnley, so how much do you look into that?
Yeah, definitely. John L just says, just on the Kilman thing, if you have Webster, you can switch to Kilman on 20th of February. Wolves likely have 6 games compared to Brighton 3. That could be one hop off point. Now I'm sure we'll look at this a bit more next week's pod and the pod after. And John Maloney puts Andy Robertson smiley face. So Andy Robertson would be very low owned, I would guess. Tomorrow evening, Man City and Brentford. We've already said about Cancelo will probably have record captaincy there. Spurs v Southampton. Kane looked sharp on the weekend, and obviously we picked our overhaul teams by the time that happened. If that match would have happened pre-overhaul, Paul, would you have been tempted by going for Kane over Ronaldo, or just because of captaincy next week? Is it?
Yeah. Like the way that I play the game. Boring, try and get a head start at the start of the season, then play it more safer towards the end, and consolidate. And I think with that, I still think Ronaldo's fixtures might warrant him getting a captaincy or two. And I looked, and I don't think I would ever captain Kane up until there's a game against Leeds, which is on Saturday, the 26th of February. And then there's options where I could bring in Kane at that point in time. As I say, because I wouldn't be captaining him, I don't think that it can hurt my rank too much. Whereas the players that I'd be missing out on by going for Kane, I would be. So it didn't change my mind much.
Okay. Norwich also play Palace, and Villa play Leeds as well. So a bit of interest there in Gallagher and Rafinha. Not expecting an awful lot of mine because both Norwich and Villa have improved recently. It'd be interesting to see for Villa. I think Ramsey. I think we're off the slide now. But I think Ramsey had quite a fair chunk of ownership. I want to say 14%. I may be exaggerating, but I may want to see 14%. And that, obviously some will have gone for maybe Watkins, Coutinho, Buendia. Maybe I don't. Luke on Scout Pod was bigging up Buendia. Could be an interesting one.
I had given a little bit of thought of going starting with Coutinho over Rafinha. I don't know enough to suggest that I was ever really, really contemplating doing it, but I could see Coutinho outscoring Rafinha over the short term.
Same. But again, it's looking at trying, and it's not like Leeds haven't got a fixture. I think if Leeds didn't have a fixture and Villa had like a 2-0 or something like that, you could maybe have started off that way. But that Villa and Leeds game, it's just the way that fantasy goes, right? You pick Coutinho and Rafinha would get the goal and man of the match. You'd be sick as a pig, wouldn't you?
You've got like quite a template team, Fergie. Like, I almost think that there's over the short term in Sky, but this is the beauty of the Sky game. I think over the short term in Sky, I've got no real interest in the outcomes of the games, or not as much as what I usually do, based on having even more template team than what I normally have at stages. I think the interesting point for me is going to come around about maybe not even so much next game week, but the game week after, where you start getting the single captaincies for that Arsenal Wolves game, for the Southampton Norwich game. I think that's kind of where my excitement about the game will pick up again.
Definitely, there's definitely a squad of 15 or 16 players that just looking back actually at the slide, the ownership slide. What is there? Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13 players over 20% owned, and a further 4 over 15% owned. Ramsey is 14%, but out of those maybe 16 players, you've guessed that there's not much to separate them there. Kane over Ronaldo could be one, but again, that's a complete 50-50 pick. Van Dijk and Jota is another batter. Will Jota outscore Van Dijk? Will Van Dijk keep the clean sheets and get the pass in and stuff? But there's not kind of a whole lot there because you're not going to captain any of them. And this is the thing, even with Kilman, if he keeps, if he keeps a clean sheet, if Ward-Prowse does anything in his opening games, because they're not going to be captained, it's not going to have massive rank swings. You need the combination of that to happen to really rise. So Kane brace or goal, goal and bonus, Kilman clean sheet, and Ward-Prowse penalty. That will see you shoot up, but it's definitely the combination. So I completely agree. This first week or two is just hygiene time. Sit back. Don't worry. If you rise in rank organically, great. If you fall in rank organically, but you've got all the highest owns, it doesn't really matter. As you say, when the season really kicks into play, will be in a couple of weeks' time when we get single game games. Teams start to diversify, but it's as always with these things. So whenever I've had a good finish in any fantasy format, it's all around the discipline and who blinks first a lot of the time, right? It's kind of
I think if you started off with a template 10 or template 9, and there's 5 players that I've highlighted that I think were good differentials, and people went for them. None of which I have, but if you started off with 9 or 10 of the template and had 1 or 2 of these players, I think I wish people luck, because I like that bit of the bravery. So Coutinho, I mentioned there, was 7.8%. Edward, 3.4%. I think he could have they've got a nice run of fixtures. Mahrez, he's a massive differential, massive ceiling. It's all about the gamble, I guess, on when he starts. 0.5%, so 5 managers in the top 1,000. Dunk, 1.8%. And Andy Robertson, who I know you mentioned, someone mentioned in the chat there, 7.5%. So those are 5 players that I think that you could have, if you went for 1, maybe max 2 of them, and coated in with nine players that that you're going to captain. I think that would have been an alternative tactic to the way that I've played it as well.
Thursday the 10th, the big one where we get to see this Liverpool team play Leicester. I'm hoping very, very selfishly that Salah doesn't start, but neither does Trent. So Liverpool are entering a phase of congestion now, pitch congestion. Robertson was rested in the FA Cup on the weekend. I'm not suggesting that Trent will be rested. I'm just saying I hope he will, because it makes my Jota pick then could be quite an exciting one.
I thought you were talking Voldemort and you're going to do other games that shall not be spoken of.
No. It's just a Jota, and Van Dijk owners as well will be laughing there. I don't think it'll happen, but I like it when things like that happen, and I've got an alternative, because like we've talked before, how I panic when my captain's not playing. I'm like, and I always make a really like crappy move. I know what it's like, but yeah, should be okay there for the captaincy. Wolves and Arsenal. Can't really get excited about that game. It's probably got 0-0 or 1-0 or 1-1.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
saw the clean sheet odds last night. FPL Salah.
Yeah.
I think it was FPL Salah.
Yeah.
Produced the clean sheet odds last night, and I was surprised at how low the odds of both Wolves and Arsenal keeping a clean sheet were.
Oh, really?
It was something around it was roughly 30% each. I think one was just under 30 and one was just over. When I look at it, I think 0-0 has got
exactly. Yeah, no, I do. Bit of a likely a boring one there, but Kilman is definitely with a chance of cleaning there, you would guess. If Salah starts, Salah captain, you would guess for the vast majority. He's going to be the highest owned, but yeah, we'll quarter to 7 is when we'll know that. And those who hold De Bruyne, for example, and didn't go for Salah, will have an interesting decision to make there, whether they hold off, try and get De Bruyne's second game, or whether they do just use the transfer and get him in, which is probably, you'd probably say, is probably the safest play, but it depends where you are and and kind of what and if you're chasing or defending. But going with Salah would definitely be the safest play, I would guess. De Bruyne's ownership is 18%.
If you didn't have Salah or Jota, but owned Van Dijk, who would you captain out of Trent and Van Dijk, out of interest?
I would go for out of Trent and Van Dijk.
Trent and Van Dijk, yeah.
I go for Trent.
I think there'll be a handful of managers that are in that position, don't own a Liverpool attacker. Yeah. So we're talking 25% of the top 1,000 don't own Salah. Van Dijk's ownership was 20-something%.
I'd go for Trent, but I do think, while Leicester are poor defensively, they're also pretty good going forward. I do expect Leicester to score on Thursday evening. I'm not massively bothered.
I think the clean sheet odds were like 45% for Liverpool or something like that.
Yeah,
but as I say, as an only Trent owner and likely captainer, I still want them to concede. So,
catching up on the chats, FPL Finding Glory currently on Kane captain for this evening. Hope it works for you. Love the brave picks. Just not brave into it myself. People then talking about the Bowen pick. Yeah.
Kane.
Oh, sorry, on Wednesday. On Wednesday. On Wednesday. Yeah. Apologies for Spurs against Southampton there. Interestingly, Martin Boyle, lots of teams designed with a piece of tracing paper at the Mo. Don't like second overhaul. I don't like either overhaul. I can't stand them both. I can't.
I understand Sky's rationale for the first one in particular, because because they want to retain players, and therefore giving them a fresh start after 4 weeks to reset. I get it. Towards the end of the season, yeah, I really dislike the second overhaul.
Surely, the skill in fantasy, you mentioned, is the discipline and setting your team up for the long term. And this is why I really enjoy the Telegraph game. Is exactly that. You get your team at the start, you get 40 transfers, use them how you will, but you sit on your hands all the time. It's really tough. I've made a couple of boo-boos in that this week, Paul, which I'll tell you about offline. But I've hit that point of where I was like daddy cool, and now I'm the opposite. Wherever the opposite of daddy cool is mummy hot. I don't know. That probably sounds a bit weird. Anyway, Neil Sky FF. Hi lads. Sorry I'm late. We were missing you, Neil. By the way, here now. Good stuff. Let's quickly look at the weekend games. United, Southampton, gets the lineups for that. Watford, Brighton, Everton, Leeds, Brentford, Palace, Norwich, Man City.
This is an interesting one, because of Man City potentially rested. Like, this is the prime game for Man City to rest players, but it's the argument of continuity in the selections versus potential rest-ins. And if you owned Ronaldo, I could see why you would captain Ronaldo over a Man City asset. And this was one of the reasons why I never really considered De Bruyne as well. If you knew that De Bruyne was going to play against Brentford and Norwich, and then we're happy that Salah probably wouldn't start against Leicester, I could see why. Okay, a really nice 2-for-1 to start off with. I'm just not convinced that De Bruyne plays both games or plays reduced minutes as well. So it's interesting. I think Saturday's game is interesting on where to go.
I think for me, how Southampton performed defensively against Spurs on Wednesday night would be an interesting one, because if Spurs put 3 or 4 past them, I think we'll see an increased
Ronaldo
captaincy coverage.
And that's if he starts. That's if he starts as well, I guess.
But yeah, probably going to be Cancelo again away to Norwich. I noticed Cancelo and De Bruyne both started the FA Cup on the weekend. They both came off early, so you guessed they're kind of nailed on for Wednesday. Hopefully they're nailed on for the weekend as well. But we will see.
If Laporte didn't play Wednesday and Cancelo did, and you came to Saturday, do you think that then heightens put the captaincy on Laporte?
I personally don't, and it's purely because Pep has just got a history of falling. I don't think he rests people like this last year. I don't think he rests people anymore. I think he drops people, and if Laporte doesn't start, I then wouldn't be very surprised if he didn't start on the weekend as well, because this is what he's kind of doing now, isn't he? He wants to keep them on their toes by basically saying, if you're playing well, you will play. If you don't play well, you won't play. And I think that's his philosophy.
That is a strange one, because he always seems to play the cup competitions and the big games in the Champions League, and then often, but maybe forward line's different to the defensive line as well.
Sunday, Spurs play Wolves. Obviously, you'd expect a tight one there. Newcastle, Villa, Burnley, Liverpool, Leicester, West Ham. Thankfully, we get to see the Burnley-Liverpool team sheets, because if we hadn't, that would have been an interesting one there. But we get to see, obviously, if Salah plays, and you'd expect him to be.
Yeah, it would have been, because I don't know, that would have probably heightened Bowen's appeal, because he's going to play against Leicester as well.
Oh. Yeah. And then Tuesday, we'll be back before this game, but Man United, Brighton. This is obviously why Ronaldo's, or one of the reasons why Ronaldo's ownership is so high, is because of this specific match.
Do you think that Webster's ownership is perhaps slightly higher than it would have been with this game being in here, and it's almost like a fail-safe for another asset to captain?
I'm not sure.
It was part of my thinking. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have went out without Webster had it not been for this game, but
I don't think I would have. And it's purely because I don't think that Brighton will keep a clean sheet against United, because I think Brighton have slipped up a bit defensively. While United are poor, they do tend to score in most games. So personally, for me, no, I'd have been tempted actually to. I was half tempted to go with Webster. To not start with Webster, but the fact this match was in was a thing of why I went with him. But it would have been over someone else, if that makes sense. It would have been over someone like Coutinho, or someone who started off with a couple of good fixtures maybe, or even a Burnley forward. I just think we talk about Burnley forwards. Just Ian Parrin's words, they echo in my mind year after year, match after match. And he's so right about pick attackers from good attacking teams. And pick defenses from good defensive teams. And Burnley attack is not renowned for, I know Wood went on a bit of a run end of last season, but generally speaking, Weghorst has hardly pulled up any trees at his other club, and it's Burnley attack at the end of the day, isn't it?
Weghorst does have a really good record.
But not this season.
I think he was 1 and 2. I think he was 1 and 2.
I think it was this season. It wasn't the best.
I take the argument outside of that anyway. Yeah. Jimenez is another good example of why I probably would never pick.
Yeah,
I'm very reluctant to pick him ever again in any fantasy format.
I find it different in games like FPL because of the bonus points and things, and the fact that a forward or a midfielder from a lesser team only needs to score a goal to basically mop up. It's not always the case, is it, in in this game, because a lot of time, even if Weghorst had have scored, because Burnley don't have many shots, he would probably have only ended up on 7 points. Just as an example, and same for midfielder. Whereas in FPL, because you get the bonus points and all this stuff as well, it does work about a bit.
If he had scored, he would have got man of the. If he had scored, he would have got man of the match.
You would maybe got
well.
man of the match. In all fairness, you might be right there. Okay, we've had a couple of questions in. We haven't had many. Neil SkyFF, who is in the chat. Hi there, Neil. Do you think moving Pope to Ederson on Wednesday could be worth the sub? City have 2 easy games. He's certain to start and is almost guaranteed at least 18 points in the next 2 games. He is also quite captainable on the 12th too, which I believe is that game against Norwich we're talking about, which... no, away to... Yeah, Norwich on the 12th. Is that right? Yeah. Thoughts on that? Or do you think,
yeah, it's not something that I would consider. I just think that Pope's going to come in handy later down the line. I made a point of not being against goalkeeper transfers, but I think the guaranteed 18 points is a bit of a stretch. Like if you look at the bookmakers, I imagine that it'd be around 50%, maybe even a little touch less of keeping back-to-back clean sheets. So what looks easy on paper, all it takes is for a team to score 1 goal without even peppering the goal, and that's only a 2-pointer for Ederson.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I do think if you've got a lot of transfers, you could do it. I think that, but
I just think I would rather use in that scenario. So I like goalkeeper transfers, but in that scenario, I would rather bring in a Man City defender or a Liverpool defender who bases 5 points instead of 2 points.
Yeah,
like goalkeepers.
FPL Commander has Kane, Ronaldo, and Jota up front. Should I hold on to Ronaldo until Salah versus Norwich before making that switch, or is skipping Salah's Leicester and Burnley games too much of risk? What do you think, Paul?
What was the plan?
it was probably see if Salah starts and then make a decision on the night, I would guess. But I just think the kind of easy answer here is that if you just want to hold rank, move to Salah. If you need to take risks and you understand that your rank could go significantly up or down, go with the alternative. I think that's,
I don't think there's a standout Spurs captaincy day until perhaps that game away to Leeds. And it's only because there's no... Man United do play at home at Watford that day as well, so Ronaldo will be heavily captained. So have a look at... If it's going to ruin your week, if Salah falls, and therefore you're going to do it, have a look at who you're going to captain out of. I assume it's got to be Ronaldo or Kane that you're going to move on, and just have a look at when's the next time you would need one of those for captaincy.
I love that factor that we've added in. We've added into our decision making now, and it's something I definitely do. Is will you feel angry or not? And then if you can live with yourself, go for it. If you can't live with yourself, don't.
I'll make a boring analogy here. It's like putting like long-term savings. Like if you're thinking of it from like putting money into your pension, stuff like that. If your risk appetite's low and you're needing retirement, then you're going to go for low risk things because you want to be guaranteed money. Whereas if you're young and your risk appetite's high, and when I say young, I mean you've got a longer time to retirement, then downturns in the market aren't going to be as like relevant to what the end output is, so you don't need to worry about it as much.
I thought you were going to use a more like a more aggressive analogy there, Paul, like saying take out your life savings and put them on red in a casino, and if you can live with yourself, then it's all good. But you might double your money. But no, I take your analogy. It's a really good one.
Whereas I'm low, like a low risk Sky Fantasy player and play boring, and therefore it would really, really annoy me if like Salah hauled and he was 75% on. So I would transfer him in, or I would have started or it's easy saying in hindsight now. I would have started with him.
Is your house like color like internally? Is it all like beige and stuff with
Well, look at the back wall.
Love it. And final question, FPL Foxy, who is the better Oh, I just realised so last week I still can't pronounce it, but apparently I was calling. I still can't pronounce it. The Southampton forward, I've heard so many pronunciations. So I've heard Broja, Broja, Brosha, Brocha, Broca. So I don't know which one we're going to stick with, but FPL Foxy says, who is the best transfer out, Broca or Broja? Sorry, the best transfer in, rather. But yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to find it and stick to it, and we'll have to go on one of these sites that tell you how to pronounce it. Did you see someone took a lot of stick the other day for pronouncing, remember Wojciech Szczesny? I'll say it as we Brits say it. Apparently a reporter or journalist or whatever said it in the way that they say it properly in Poland, took a load of stick for it. But yeah, I do enjoy when the commentators try and get in on the act with like the local pronunciation. It's always a bit of fun in it. But yeah, we're gonna have to get a name.
Like Joey Barton.
Joey Barton, like
was it Steve McLaren?
I was just gonna say Steve McLaren when he was in Holland, wasn't it? How do you say Brosha or Broja?
No, I've never considered them in any fantasy game, so I've never had to say it before. Okay. I'd say Broja, but I'm not. I'm open to critique on that. Like,
Paul says Broja. Yeah, we're gonna have to work on that, aren't we? Martin Boyle says your analogy is spot on. Low risk, low returns, low volatility, higher risk for potential higher returns, and higher volatility. Absolutely, and that is fantasy captaincy, especially in a nutshell, right? And kind of effective ownership and stuff. Yeah, Glenn Murray says Joe Ellington. Absolutely. Matt Willie also says, I think Paul needs to put a "this is not personal financial advice" disclaimer into the screen.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
We'll add that into the description.
Well, it's like maybe. People do their own. Yeah.
Cool.
Do your own risk assessments.
Briefly, just got my team now on screen. I'm running through it for the podcast listeners. Pope in goals with a beautiful 24-point start. Very template, as you can see. Cancelo, Webster, Trent, and Laporte. Gallagher, Bowen, and Rafinha. Salah, Jota is my man who I've turned to. I had a decision on overhaul, and I was really stuck. And it was either I think it was Norwood and Van Dijk, which I've done in my B team, or
Norgard. Yeah.
Sorry, who did I say? Norgard and Van Dijk, or Gallagher and Jota.
Yeah, Ollie Norwood, I think is what you said.
I said Ollie Norwood, did I?
You said Norwood.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, I went for Jota just because they've, I fancied Gallagher over Norwood. Was really the only reason, because I couldn't really pick between Van Dijk and Jota, really. I think, obviously Van Dijk is probably safer in terms of passing and stuff, but Jota was a bit of a, let's go for it. Let's have one attacking sort of player in there who can maybe a bit of a difference maker. Saying that, Van Dijk could do it. I think if I could have gone for Gallagher and Van Dijk, I would have done that, but I couldn't because of my budget, and I wasn't willing to compromise anywhere else. So that's why I ended up with Gallagher and Jota. That's my team. Obviously, captain Bowen, Cancelo, and Salah. Jota will be the difference maker for me this week. If he does well and Van Dijk doesn't, for example, could do well. If the opposite happens, I'll probably hold rank, I would guess, across the board. Praying for Man City clean sheet bust and Liverpool clean sheet bust on Wednesday and Thursday, obviously because of the effective ownerships we mentioned earlier. Hub £500 league, not much in the way of movement. Joseph Finley-Badder, 10th place. Darren Molly, 9th. Maurice Weeks, second team, dropped. So this is Carl from the Hub, dropped 5 places. Looks like he seemingly didn't captain Pope in that one team. 7th place, Oliver Colgan. 6th, Rob Watson-Lang. 5th, Michael Shipley. 4th, Jack Smiley. 3rd, Peter Gilderdale. 2nd is Carl's first team. and still top Liam Stevens, Frog Skills FC. Many congratulations to everyone really doing well there in that league. And the Four Nations League, just one slight bit of movement. Liam overtook my team because I just remembered what I did in my B team. I think I captained Cornet, actually. Just a bit of a last minute, saw the lineup, saw Cornet was playing, and just thought, oh, do you know what? That was in my B team, so captain Cornet.
Do you know what? I'm going to ignore that advice that you and Perrin gave me about picking attacking players from attacking teams.
It was the B team. It was the B team. It was the B team.
Yeah. There's only 10 points behind your other team at one, like up until recently.
I know. But that's what a B team's for, is to take risks on, right? It is for me anyway. I thought there was enough potential upside there to take a risk. So Liam,
just ignore everything. That you said earlier on.
It's the second team that everyone wishes they had, Paul, that they can just, basically it's doing pretty well. It's like 400.
Exactly. That's even more reason to take your own.
No, my A team is doing better, mate. No, I'm happy to take risks on in that one. I will spunk a hat trick in that team and go flying up at some point. But anyway, yeah, not much going on there. Every other team
behind your other team.
What's that?
By which point you'll be 100 points behind the other team anyway. So
every other sensible team there captained Pope on that one, so not much to update on there. And that is it for us for this week. And it was a short one, Paul. 47 minutes so far, which is for us is very, very short. But yeah, hopefully, bit of advice on the coming week or two. And thank you so much for those joining us on the stream. Really good crowd. Really appreciate everyone coming in, joining us, commenting, liking. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who will watch this back and to everyone who will listen. Probably going to get this out now, probably tomorrow morning on the podcast. There's no immediate rush, obviously, because there's only a Owen captain this evening. Paul, thank you so much as usual. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1. It's MCANULTY.
Superb. Thank you so much, and we will be back probably next week's quite normal. Oh no, there's Man United and Brighton on the Tuesday in there, so there's only the one midweek game. So we'll either be back probably Monday or Tuesday lunchtime as usual. My handle is at FFH_Fergi. Make sure you drop both Paul and I a follow. This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available on all major podcast platforms. If you liked what you watched, please press the like button. Only 17 likes so far and 60 odd watching. Come on, guys, sort it out. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And if you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave some comments. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are at FFH_HQ. And our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. So please follow and feel free to ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football, Sky FF, FPL, TFF, Sun Dream Team, everything under one roof, including all the tools you'll need. Fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals. Don't forget to check out ffstuff.co.uk too. Hopefully we're going to get all that stuff on the hub very, very soon. We'll be back next week. We'll be looking forward to Gameweek 28, I think. Stay safe all, and goodbye for now.